So, when it comes to burnout, how do you define burnout?
I think that's a little bit different for everyone, but for whoever is answering that question, it's whenever you get to a place where you are overwhelmed, where you feel like you have more to do than you can accomplish in any day. And again, there's people like me. I'm a type A personality. I can have a to-do list the length of my body and feel like, oh, I've got stuff to do, right? And then other people would have a short list and be like, oh my God, I feel like I have to do this stuff and it's overwhelming. So again, personalities come into this, but it's whenever you get to a point that you can't easily, comfortably figure out how to move forward, how to make progress. Everything kind of seems overwhelming, decision fatigue, just feeling like you're doing everything, but you're not doing anything well. Marie, my business partner, she'll say things like, I feel like 3 of my 4 hats, I'm always doing 3 of them well and I'm failing at one of them. So you're doing the business well, but you're failing as a mother. You're doing the motherhood well, but you're failing at the business or whatever those things are. And not feeling like you have the time to do the things you want to do well. Like I remember there was a time last year. Last year was a big pivotal moment for me. I decided I wasn't traveling for work this year as a result of last year. And I just remember there was maybe like a 6-week period. Every single day I was trying to get a pedicure. That sounds like the dumbest thing in the world. But the pedicure place is about a mile from my house. Like I could literally walk there. And I couldn't find the time in the day, weekend, day, anything to go down for 45 minutes and get a pedicure. Couldn't find it. And I was just like beside myself with, I don't even understand this. I own my own business because I want to be able to create my own schedule. But now I'm not creating the time for myself to do the things I want to do, right? And so I think, again, it's going to be at a different level for everybody. We all have our own tolerance level for how much we can manage and how much we can do. But those are the things that I think about when I think about burnout.
I think it is just important. And if someone's listening to this, just like acknowledge it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything to add to your to-do list, right? Just like notice where you're at and notice how you're feeling. And if there are symptoms of burnout that are starting to show up, like maybe pay attention to what's on your to-do list.
There was a last year and the year before, I started noticing, like, I'm not an overly emotional person. Anybody that knows me will say that, but I would be sitting down watching TV because that was like my downtime. So I didn't have to think. I didn't have to like do anything or whatever, but I'd be watching like Grey's Anatomy or something, whatever. And some normal situation or a commercial or some song that came on in the show would make me cry. And I'm like, what is going on? And I was like, I think I'm burned out. I think I'm tired. I think I'm stressed because that's not normal for me at all. And so I started like recognizing all of that. And I was like, yep, something's got to change. Next year, something's got to be different. And so, yeah, haven't cried over a commercial this year.
Yeah, and you're known for helping people grow without burning out. So what are some of the common patterns you see that lead to burnout in the nonprofit or small business leaders, and how do you help them shift?
I think one of the biggest things is people's inability to say no. Mm-hmm. And having some confidence around what you can or can't, should or shouldn't say no about, and saying no in order to. There's this phrase that we use all the time. When you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to something else, even if you don't know what that is, right? Sometimes you say no, so you say yes to show up for your kids. Sometimes you say no so that you have free time. So when another opportunity comes up, you could say yes if you wanted to. And sometimes when you say yes, you're saying no to something else, even if you don't realize it yet. You're making a commitment of your time, your energy, your resources that's going to prevent you from doing something else. So we take a lot of time to help people think through, you don't have to say yes to everything. It is perfectly okay to say no. How do you say no without feeling guilty? Because a lot of people coming from the nonprofit sector have this mindset, because we've been trained to think you have to do it all. You have to take it home with you. We want you to take your work home, but we don't want you to bring your home to work. Right? We want you to answer the phone and respond to emails and be thinking about all these things, but you can't bring your kid to the office. You can't bring your dog to the office. You can't, whatever all those things are. And so there's a lot of culture that we're taught that's fairly negative in some nonprofit sectors, especially where I was coming up. I know things have changed quite a lot. And people are thinking more about culture, and people are thinking more about what the work environment is like, and people are trying to make some changes, but there's still a lot of toxic nonprofit culture. And people that are nonprofit consultants take it into their consulting practice. They're like, I can't do this. I shouldn't do this. I have to do this. And we project a lot of things that we don't need to. Like, you can't be more concerned about your client's success than they are, right? And that's something that's really hard for a lot of folks to learn. So again, we go through a lot of mindset conversations around why are you overly concerned if they're not accessing the things you're offering as a consultant? It's out there and they know they can access it, but why are you overly concerned that they're not? Well, I don't want them to feel like they're not getting their value. Ooh. So we have a lot of those conversations, and think through, how do we make time for ourselves? How do we protect our sanity? What are our must-haves? What are our boundaries? How are we implementing those? How are we communicating those? What are the communication norms we're setting, whether it's in a nonprofit or in a client situation as a for-profit consultant? And just creating a lot of those and knowing it's okay, and hearing another person say to you, yeah, it's totally okay for you to say that, think that, do that. I think it helps, because a lot of times people don't have that person in their corner hearing it, whether they're reading it in a blog or watching it on a YouTube video or hearing it from a coach they're paying. I think more people need to be saying those things and modeling how we do them successfully.
I found saying no more and niching down has allowed me to have access to more opportunities, like you said. And I think specifically in nonprofits, and I want to talk about how a strategic plan comes into place and how it helps nonprofit leaders say no more, because we know that donors come in the door and they have all these grandiose ideas. We have board members who are like, oh, this nonprofit did this. Now our nonprofit has to host this event, right? And it's like, well, we don't have the capital or the resources or the manpower to do it. And so we do have to say no. And honestly, that is the number one question I get in interviews is, how comfortable do you feel saying no to a board member? And so I think that's important. And I think that's where either a fund development strategy or strategic plan comes in, because you have those guide rails, right, of your objectives. So talk a little bit more about the work that you do when it comes to strategic planning.
Okay. Yeah. So, strategic plans are business plans in the nonprofit sector. That's the term we use. It's a strategic plan, because nonprofit is your tax status, it's not your business model. And a business plan is going to say, where are you now? Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And how are you going to get there? As a development director for my whole career, a strategic plan was the most important tool in my fundraising toolkit, because it allowed me to say to a donor or prospective donor, hey, this is where we are right now. This is where we want to be. This is where we want to go and how we want to get there. This is the part that we think you can play in helping achieve those goals. And you can very specifically say to them, this piece, we've agreed upon it. We've built consensus around it. The staff and the board and our stakeholders all agree that this is how we're moving forward and where we want to be. And we'd love for you to come on that journey with us. It is really easy to track. It should be a living document. You should be keeping up with it on a regular. It should include implementation plans to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. How are we going to do it? Who's responsible for it? What is the timeline that goes with that, right? Now, here's the beautiful thing. It's also your get out of jail free card. When you have a board member or a community stakeholder that's like, oh my God, I'd love for you to participate in this thing. And you're like, that sounds great. And we really appreciate you thinking of us. It doesn't really align with our current strategic plan. This is what we're working on. These are our current goals. This is our mission. It doesn't align with that. Happy to put it in the parking lot and talk about it as we revise our strategic plan going forward. We review it annually, and then every couple of years we create a new one. But right now it doesn't align. So it's a really easy way to say no, because you have a reason to back it up. It's also great when you get that board member that comes in and is like, oh my God, we should do this thing. This is a great idea. I just thought of this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's a fabulous idea. And I appreciate that you're putting that energy into it. However, right now that doesn't align with what we're saying we're going to do. So here are the options. We can either present to the whole board, hey, we've got this other idea. Do we want to revise the strategic plan as it's currently written? Nobody's going to do that. Or do we want to put it in the parking lot and kind of think about it as we grow and move forward in the organization as to if that's something we want to do during the next strategic planning process, right? So again, it's your way to push back a little without seeming disrespectful, while, like you said, staying within your guardrails. It's wonderful for executive directors.